Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to say Kolema Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Harakakadash Wobrakthom. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. And brother here, Shema Shawan. And as you know, I've been hitting a lot of these war lies and, going into them. Breaking them down. What's true, what's not true, just going into certain things, right? Forgive me. So I'm just going to jump right in. So basically I'm going to go into the fact that the United States, they knew about the Pearl Harbor attack before it was going to happen, and the one this video doesn't get taken out. So here it is. I'm going to start here from wikipedia.org, and then we're going to get a few scriptures. I got about 4 sources. So it's going to be a fair bit of reading. So sorry, there's not going to be any big booty bitches in this video. I don't have time for that shit today. Pearl Harbor, advanced knowledge conspiracy theory. Various conspiracy theories allege that the U.S. government officials had advanced knowledge of Japan's December 7th, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor. And by the way, I know today's a Sabbath, so don't say, oh, that brother said that. I'm making a joke. I'm being fucking mean, alright? Ever since the Japanese attack, there has been debate as to why and how the United States has been caught off guard, and how much and when American officials knew of Japanese plans for an attack. So there's debate over whether the United States knew it or not. In September 1944, John T. Flynn, a co-founder of the Non-Interventionist America First Committee, launched a Pearl Harbor counter-narrative when he published a 46-page booklet entitled The Truth About Pearl Harbor, arguing that Roosevelt and his inner circle had been plotting to provoke the Japanese into an attack on the U.S. and thus provide a reason to enter into the war since January 1941, which this is very plausible. I'm only going to read the first part of this article, The Future of Freedom Foundation. Let's see at the about page. So it's pretty much the aim of this company is establishing an educational foundation that would advance an uncompromising case. Okay, libertarianism. Okay, I don't really give a shit. They're just Edomites doing Edomite shit, right? From September 1938 to December 1941, Americans debated the role the United States should play in World War II, which was then ravaging Europe. Should America actively support the Allies, especially Britain, by providing direct financial and indirect military aid, or should America maintain its traditional role of non-intervention? World War I had been the sole exception. Okay, so that's it. I'm not really going to read the rest here. I didn't really even check this article out. We could check out no sources, which sucks, but I'm gonna take the word for it on that one. Because you look at other sources, and I did the cross-referencing already, that there was a debate over whether or not the United States should or should not enter into World War II. Then they allow this attack on Pearl Harbor to take place, which we're going to get into how the United States purposely committed diplomatic failure to goad them into those Ammonites into committing that act. Which therefore gave them a reason to enter to the war, and then therefore later on use atomic bombs, which we're going to get into, all that, Lord willing, of course. So, first scripture we're going to get into, Slovakia. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 58. Verse 3, just to get to the point. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go strange as they be born, speaking lies. So, Esau calls these things conspiracy theories right now. Let's look up the meaning of a theory, right? So a theory is a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. Carefully thought out explanation for observations, blah 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 blah. It's talking about science though. But pretty much when you see like the word conspiracy theory, it always has that kind of connotation that these devils have put, that it's not quite true. You know, they always make jokes, you know, about so-called conspiracy theorists, which certain things are correct, certain things are incorrect. No, Esau is not a fucking lizard. He may peel like a lizard, but according to the Holy Scriptures, which is of course what we believe in and what we deal with, Esau is not a fucking lizard. Okay? He's an Edomite. Okay? That's what so-called white people are. They're not lizards. They're not actual reptiles. Okay? Because I have to really break this down to niggas, because you know, some of you guys are kind of moving on. You guys are just gone. So a belief or belief, policy, or procedure proposed or followed as the basis of action. So yeah, it's like a belief, an ideal, or here you go. This is what I'm looking for: an ideal or hypothetical set of facts, principles, or circumstances, often using the phrase in theory. So it's like here you go, another one: a hypothesis assumed for the sake of argument and investigation. So there you go. Another one, an unproven assumption, conjecture. So that's what I'm really looking for, an unproven assumption. So that's what Esau calls these things, to discredit them. And that's how, you know, they go astray, man. They speak these lies, and they paint things that are true, and they paint them as lies. So that's their MO. Moving on. This is an article here, which I'm surprised. This article is actually very good. Fox 10 Phoenix. 3 decades of warnings of an inevitable Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor went unheeded. Okay? Let me see here. Okay, we're good. By Colleen Killingsworth, December 6, 2021. Washington at 12:30 in the afternoon on December 8th, 1941, less than 30 hours after the Japanese, but they're really Ammonites, bombed Pearl Harbor. President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress and American public in a nationwide radio broadcast, calling the attack unprovoked and dastardly, sparking a surge of American patriotism and a sudden new willingness to enter World War II that changed the country's course drastically. Kind of sounds familiar, right? There's always an event to, in other words, make them and push this country into a certain course. They did it with World War II. They did it time and time again, you know. 9/11, okay? Which that thing was an inside job, as we all know. Roosevelt went on to say in his radio address, the United States was at war with that nation, and that the salutation of Japan was still in conversation with its government, its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific, when it was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces. Which this is they're bringing it out for right now and not explaining it, but they're gonna explain it later. But many historians and officials employed by the U.S. government at that time but many historians and officials employed by the U.S. government at the time point to decades of failed diplomacy on the part of the U.S. as a clear precursor to the acts of warfare carried out on December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor, right? Some officials were warned in clear detail by those with inside knowledge that Pearl Harbor was to be attacked by the Japanese, and some argued the attack could have been avoided altogether had these American officials heeded the warnings. Okay, and pretty much the rest of it, this article goes into various warning signs. You know, students come up and speak about it, and various officials. So I'm actually gonna skip down. In January 1941, Ambassador Joseph Grew learned of Japan's plan to bomb Pearl Harbor from the Peruvian embassy. The United States State Department, headed by Secretary of State Cordell Hull, chose to disregard the warning and continue approaching negotiations with the Japanese from a hardline stance. The United States had been able to decode all diplomatic messages from Japan beginning in September 1940, and a year later, Howe knew that the two Japanese diplomats sent to negotiate with the United States had been told to keep talking, but that after November 29th, things are automatically going to happen. So what this sounds like, which I could be wrong here, it's worded very weirdly by Colleen, not the best of writing here, but basically, if we know it came to pass December 8th, 1941, and if they're jumping back in time here, talking about September 1940, it did happen. So these two Japanese diplomats were talking and negotiating with the United States, and the U.S. was having more of a hardline stance with it. We had many signs in the wind that something was going to happen, said Dr. William B. Bader, who worked for the CIA and State Department as a naval intelligence officer in the 1960s. Before going on to hold a vast array of other government positions, we believed that the Japanese were going to do something, but we didn't know what or when. Which that shows how they're devils, man. They knew. Multiple people spoke up about it. Students. There was a student. I think there's written here, a Japanese student. And there's other things. Here you go. What's this guy here? Multiple people. There's so much info here that I'm not really gonna read it all. But basically, America was warned about it. They knew about it, and they let it happen anyway, just so they can have an excuse to enter. So to read it again, and you go into it again. Another article. This is gonna be the last article. I know you guys don't want to hear me read these things, but I like to read, man. I like to read about this in particular. I like world wars. World wars are cool, man. Right. On December 7, 1941, following the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor, the United States declared war on Japan. 3 days later, after Germany and Italy declared war on it, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. The United States became fully engaged in the Second World War. Skipping down, the United States' entry into the war helped to get the nation's economy back on its feet following the Depression. So that's why they joined it. Okay? For many other reasons also. Although, just 10 years earlier, jobs were very difficult to come by, although just 10 years earlier, jobs were very difficult to come by, there were now jobs for nearly everyone who wanted one. With the creation of 17 million new jobs during the war, workers were afforded the opportunity to pay off old debts, as well as to begin saving some of their earnings. On May 8th, 1941, just to go into the history a little bit, to end off on how everything ended. On May 8th, 1945, Germany surrendered after the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which we're going to get into the scripture on that. Japan surrendered on September 2nd, 1945, and the Second World War came to an end. The war cost lives of more than 33,000 American soldiers. Many more were permanently injured or maimed. So, I mean, hey man, you devils, you Edomites, your leaders pretty much just took you and let your people die, man. They just threw your lives away like it was nothing. And they still do that to this day. Man. Get you guys to fight these fucking wars, because all wars are bankers' war, as we know. Which I'm not going to get into the deep stuff of World War II and the money. Because you look into the money, you'll get more understanding on really the real reason why these wars come to pass. But that's not the point of this lesson. I can do that at another time. Revelation chapter 9 verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes hereafter. So, woe means destruction. There has been thus far two major destructions, and the third is prophesied. So, World War One and World War Two. Okay, um, so they applied, yeah, second Esdras 9 and 1. Right, we can deduce that their destruction, World War, is on the horizon. Because when you look at second Esdras 9 and 1, it's basically you got to measure these prophecies, man, to these scriptures, and you'll be able to understand. You know, hold on, why am I not signed in? Give me a second here. Give me a second. Okay. Give me one moment. I know I'm not signed in. Don't do that. See if that one works. Give me one moment. If I'm locked out, I know what to do. No, I'm not. Just case sensitive. Um, Acting weird, man. But basically, that's what's being talked about in Second Esdras 9 and 1. We can deduce that the destruction of world wars on the horizon. At this point in history, however, only one war had been fought. So, in this point, when John had ever seen this one world war, because this is what Revelation 9, you read earlier, is talking about World War One. Only one world war had been fought. But in our times now, World War One has already came and passed. Ended with the Treaty of Versailles, okay, and then I'm pretty damn. I better be corrected about that, man. I'm gonna be, there we go. Treaty of Versailles, World War One. Okay, good. So just wanted to double check. Sometimes I can have some bad memory. But I was watching I'm Not Your Alaba, and I'm gonna go into Second Esdras 9 and 1 real quick. Second Esdras 9 and 1. He answered me then and said, "Measure the out of time diligently yourself, and when thou seest the part of the sun's past, which I told thee before, then thou shalt understand it's the very same time wherein the highest begin to visit the world which he made." So to approach the first part, measure the time or take account of it. How close are we to the prophecy? So you're able to measure through these scriptures or take account of these times. Okay. The national understand the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So that's what we do today. We see these prophecies, we see these prophecies come to pass, but understand that it is the same time when, the Lord's going to return back. Alright, so that's basically, what this brother's going into. One world war is already passed, so that's why you apply Second Esdras 9 and 1 to this. Okay, that's why it goes hand in hand. Alright, that's how we would understand it. So, moving on. What did I want to say? I finished that one already. So, World War II already came and passed. Alright? World War I already came and passed. Yeah? Now, we're just going to get to the point here in Revelation chapter 6. The white horse is talking about Yahushai. Okay? Yep. White represents purity, horse represents power. The chariot that Yahushai was in, he is Yahushai. When you read the he in Revelation 6 and 2 is Yahushai. Revelation 6 and 4, and there went another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. They should kill one another, and it was given unto him a great sword. Alright, so the horse that was red is Esau, the so-called white man. Horse represents power. Red, which is it's Adawam or Edom. Take peace from the earth. It is evident from history that the so-called white man, the Edomites, are the ones who have taken peace from the earth, and they have Habakkuk 2, 5, and 6. There's no need to go into that. And the great sword goes into Esau's blessing, which is in Genesis chapter 27, verse 38 to 24. Verse 38 to 40. 38 to 40, not 38 to 24. I'm tired. Okay, when you get tired, it happens. Okay, but that's it. So that represents Esau. That's the breakdown on it. That's why I like the King James so much. So that's it. And they have taken peace from the earth. I just read you. They knew about all this, and they let it happen anyway. They knew about Pearl Harbor before it came down, and they didn't divert it or use better diplomacy. They let it come to pass, so then they can have an excuse to enter into World War One, and they made a lot of money off it. which I've already read and proved to you. So, Revelation 13, verse 11, these are the last few scriptures, and then I'm going to close out. Revelation 13 and 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This ties in directly to Daniel 7 and 8, which is talking about America. The two horns like a lamb, Republicans, patricians in ancient Rome, and Democrats, plebeians in ancient Rome, represents power. Okay, so the Republicans and the Democrats today. So the Republicans back then, because we know America is Rome again, the deli won't being healed, right? Which then allowed America to come to, and which allowed for America to come into being through Britain, right? To that deli won't being healed. These Edomites getting their power. Slovakia. These Edomites getting their power back, So two ones like a lamb, Republicans, patricians. So the Republicans were the patricians in ancient Rome, the rich, and the Democrats today were the plebeians in ancient Rome, and horns represent power. So for other brothers mentioned that I saw a video from Yashawamba and Itazawam, which that one's famous on GMS Volt. Basically, I heard, I believe it was Itazawam who went into it, that the two ones like a lamb, is just like both sides of the political parties, they act very humble and docile, or like they have your best interest, right? But they speak as a dragon. They speak as a dragon through their actions, and that dragon represents the Roman Empire. So that fucking harsh ass, fucking Roman legislation. It's the same shit, It's the same shit. Both sides are gonna give you the same thing. You're gonna get martial law, eventually from either side, man. If you say another world where, say, Biden didn't get elected, we'd be in the same spot that we are today, man. Which martial law is gonna come either way. So whoever, if Trump got elected or Biden got elected, one way or another, we're gonna have martial law. So it doesn't matter which of those two are in power, because both sides are gonna get the same thing. Because really, America's ran by the elite banking families. Really, America's ran by, and that's pretty much it. Elite banking families, Rothschilds, so on and so forth, man. They really have the power, man. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, which I already proved already, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly one was healed. The power of the first beast is the Roman Empire. So that same fucking shit, came back through them, man. Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so they make it fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Okay, and that fire down that comes down from heaven in the sight of men is going to nuclear missiles, man. Really back then it started with atomic bombs. Alright, so, and I already read that here. After the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Since we're here, let's look up what is the difference between nuclear bomb and atomic bomb. Okay, let's see here. And atomic bomb, let's see. Because I keep using them interchangeably, so let's just figure that out. A nuclear bomb is a bomb that uses nuclear fission, which is the splitting of an atom into two or more particles. Nuclear fusion, which is the fusion of two or more atoms to one large one. While an atomic bomb is a type of nuclear bomb that uses nuclear fission. Okay, so you can use them interchangeably, basically. But I'm just going to call it atomic bomb because that's the better pronunciation, or the better, sorting or type of bomb. So that's it. And you should, have a good understanding now that, World War II, these devils let that shit, they basically use Pearl Harbor as a pretense to enter it, to, quell all the disputing and arguments that they were having between themselves. So, Lord willing, this is edifying, and shalom.